Hi, I'm Farley Cameron. I'm an artist living on the Sunshine Coast. I live in Buderim. My art story really started, well, when I left school, I went down to Melbourne and started a course called Textile Design at RMIT. And that's where my love of textiles really ignited and my love of design kicked off. Because I was very young and very naive, I stuck it out for a couple of years and then I had to come back. I came back for family reasons. My father had passed away and things like that. So I came back, but I came back with enough knowledge and skills to start printing and hand painting fabrics and textiles. And at the time, my mother and I started a business and we printed on the veranda, printed cotton and silk and linen, and we made up clothes and chuffed them off to Brisbane down to the markets and sold them every week and came back. And eventually that little tiny business grew into a bigger business and we ended up having a lovely little sort of cottage restaurant art gallery for a few years, and it was great. And then my life moved on. I got married, had a child, it all got a bit much, so I pulled away from that and went off and did other jobs and, I worked in fashion and all that sort of thing. And then I decided that our little girl was getting older and I thought, I want to get back into my art. So when I was 40, I thought, right, I need to go and get that degree that I never got in the beginning. So I didn't go back and do textiles. I went and did a computer-based graphic design arts degree here at the Sunshine Coast Uni. And that was great. It was a huge learning curve for me, really interesting, just because I was an older, mature age student, but it still pulled in, I was still using those skills that I'd learnt all those years ago. But now with the new technology, it was, a whole new ballgame. So it was great. And from there I went and I worked in a newspaper, doing ads, and I still do actually do graphic design for different places. So that's been great, and it was my bread and butter, and it was wonderful. But I had this hankering, I want to paint. So my painting here that I do has morphed. I pulled on all that experience that I had from years and years ago as a textile designer and thought I can use that knowledge I have also with my graphic design skills that I'd learned and start working on paper instead of on fabrics and things. So that's how it started a few years ago. I really started working like this. And I really find it's an evolvement of my journey. My love of my subject matter is, I paint a lot of native flowers, but it's all nature. And that goes back probably from when I was a little girl. I was born on an apple orchard. My father was an orchardist, his father was, and his father was. So, gardening's been in my blood since before I was conceived. And I think that just resonates with me and it's important to me. And so that's why the subject matter that I always am drawn to is nature. I'm very fortunate too, because I had my mother, who I was in business with for many years, was a fabulous seamstress, and so was my grandmother. And so they taught me a lot of skills with the textile side of things. So that was something else I could draw on. And I still do now. I still get drawn to doing textiles, like I still do the fabrics and that sort of thing. And I'll probably always dance between working, doing my paintings on paper, but then I'll print fabrics as well, and I'll be doing scarves and things. I'll always be doing both. I don't want to limit myself with one or the other. So yeah, that's sort of how the journey evolved to where I am now. You know, purpose is just something I have grappled with for a long time. It was, you know, you always feel like, oh, as an artist, you've got to be making a comment, you've got to be saying something. And I, for a long time, struggled with imposter syndrome and, oh, I'm painting pretty flowers. But as I've matured and I've learnt to slow down, relax, do the work, it comes through, the purpose comes through and comes back to you. And what I've realised is what's important to me is the environment, nature. And it's coming right back at me. That's what's coming out of my hand, you know. The energy that I'm feeling is coming through my arm, onto the paper, onto the screen. I paint on big screens. And it's nature, and it's coming back. And so my purpose, if I want a better word really, is that if I can show, if someone can look at my work and feel a connection to the nature or feel something, and it moves them emotionally, has an emotive quality to it, well, that's my purpose. I've connected. And it doesn't have to be any bigger or more important than that. It can just be that. And it was such relief for me to realise, it's all right. That's all right. That's good enough, you know. So that's been a really lovely thing, and that's only come as I'm getting older and not judging myself so harshly, you know, and as a young person you're always second guessing, and I've always, you know, felt, oh, maybe I can't put myself out there. Got to my age and gone, oh, what the hell, go for it, doesn't matter, just be you, put it out there, and that's enough. That's great. I do draw on the design elements that I've been taught through the textile designs and the graphic design, like just, you know, your design principles like line, colour, texture, all those sort of basic things. They still really inform all my work, and so some of my work is really. I draw from those things, and I can get a bit more graphic with it. So it's a play between being very organic with the painting, the water, this sort of watery look that I get, which really reflects the nature. I try and contrast a bit with a more graphic style of putting a flat back. This background here, I used a flat acrylic colour just to create attention and create a bit more interest with the work. So inspiration is all around me, but it's definitely nature. And I know myself, if I'm feeling a bit flat or a bit uninspired, I'll go out into the garden, I'll pull a few weeds, I'll, you know, mow the lawn, I'll, you know, dig a hole, and I'm a much calmer person. I'm feeling so much more relaxed. It feeds my soul. I know that's a bit corny, but that's what it does. And then I can go back into the studio and it'll come out of me then. So it's getting back to nature, and nature can be a pot plant. You don't have to have the big garden and all of that sort of thing. It can be anything, but it's just that, you know, connection to such an organic, you know, like you're in it and you feel it and it talks to you, you talk to it. I was recently at the Botanic Gardens. I do some caring for a lady, and I took her out to the Botanic Gardens, and I could see her just respond to those trees, like the huge big trees, and it's nature, and it's We all need to get back to nature. And so that's where I definitely draw my inspiration. To win the People's Choice at Toronto Regional Gallery, the local Contemporary Art Prize, absolutely blew me away. It was quite funny. I got a phone call and I said, oh yes, hi, and they said, oh, it's Clandria. And I went, they said, oh, are you coming to the announcement? And I went, oh, well, I have to actually, well, maybe I've got to go and see my mother and all. And she said, oh, it'd be nice if you could come. And I'm like, yeah, well, I did really want to, but and she said, no, it'd be really nice if you came. I went, okay. And then it sort of dawned on me. I went, oh, but then I didn't want to sound so presumptuous as to think, oh, she's telling me all that. I thought I can't be that presumptuous. So I went, okay, I'll really try and make it. And I got off the phone and I went, Dad, I think I may have just won. Could I possibly won? And anyway, he looked at me like, yeah, I think you've won. So yes, next day I went, and yes, my name was announced, and yeah, I was really thrilled. It was a big deal for me, really big deal, yeah. Piece, I was so thrilled that piece resonated with the public, and I can't say, because you never know what your work says to people. You have no control over that. Once you put it out there, it's up to them. But the fact that they did respond positively, I think, is because of the subject matter. It's coastal banksia, which is just, speaks to everyone. It's a beautiful native flower. I think the scale of that painting was interesting, which was a little new for me. I blew that one up a bit. I often work in a scale similar to this, but with that one I thought, no, let's get loose, let's get crazy, and I threw a lot more at it. I got very active with the painting, and it's painted on a huge screen. So I found that I loved doing that. It really felt great, and that probably came through, and hopefully that's what people are responding to. I don't know, it's not up to me to say why they liked it, but I'm really thrilled that they did. It was lovely. So yeah. I think for all artists, absolutely enter an art prize. It's a bit daunting, because it's like that, oh, am I good enough? Should I do? But get over yourself, do it, you enter it. It's a learning experience. You don't always get selected. Big deal, it doesn't really matter. When you do get selected, that's the biggest deal, because, you're sitting in front, your work's being presented to a panel. You don't know anything about it, but it's a shot in the arm when you get selected, because you think, oh, it validates you. And so that's really encouraging, But if you don't, that's no big deal either. And even the process of photographing your work, filling out all the forms, having everything measured, having it all presented properly, getting everything in on time, that's all really good practice for an artist. And that's really important if you're going to be a professional artist, to get all those things right, because the people on the other end, the people who work at the galleries, they need artists to be organised, and I really think that's an important practice. And you do learn, and you have photos taken, and then you go, oh God, they're not big, they're not the right size, they're not, I've got to get a low res version, I've got to go a high res version, all of that sort of stuff. So I really think the practice of doing, entering prizes is a good thing for your, if you want to be a professional artist, to learn those little, well, it's the boring side of the art practice, it's all the admin stuff, but it's really important. Yeah, so yes, I do really encourage people to enter art prizes. Yeah. I am a bit of a solo flyer, although because I've worked in a couple of galleries as gallery assistants, I've been really fortunate enough to meet some amazing local artists, and there's a really, really strong local art scene. You know, it's a really very supportive, you know, art culture here on the Sunshine Coast. I find it's really, I've got nothing but good things to say about it. Everyone I've ever met has been, you know, always helpful, always supportive of each other, always interested in what's going on. So I think the Sunshine Coast has got a really vibrant and worthwhile art scene that really needs all the encouragement and all the help. Oh, it doesn't need it because it is vibrant, but it would benefit from as much support as it can get from, you know, the local government. I think it's really worthwhile for the whole of the area, for everyone. They can benefit from having a great local art scene. You know, you've got painters and sculptors, but jewellery makers and crafts, you know, like people who quilt, you know, from all different aspects of the art scene. And, you know, I think it's only can benefit the Sunshine Coast, you know, to really support that. I'm going to I really want to develop my drawing skills, push them further. You know, I'm actually about to do a masterclass with Jodie Graham, and I'm very excited about that. And so I just want to learn more, push myself more, get out of my comfort zone a bit, do a few different things. I've got visions of working bigger, and also maybe incorporating a lot more collage and doing things like that. So they're just ideas. Currently I work in a studio, which is our garage, and my poor husband has to park on the road. He's so nice, lets me. So I have a dream that I'm going to build a studio up the back. So that's the dream. You know, I've got it in here. It's going to come out and sit out the back pretty soon, hopefully. And if that's the case, I'll be able to work bigger because I'll have a lot more space. Because at the moment I'm slightly limited by space, and because of the scale I want to work on, I need a lot of area. So yeah, that's a bit of a dream that's hopefully going to become a reality soon. Yeah. I'm sure you know, as an artist, it's a very solitary practice. I spend so much time by